Apart from the few loan deals, the transfer window so far for Liverpool has been relatively quiet. However, Fabrizio Romano has provided some huge news on Khvicha Kvaratskhelia, of which we will be discussing in today's video. Not only that, but we will also be going over some of the latest Liverpool news from the last 24 hours. There is so much to cover in today's video, but first, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel and join our fast-growing community. Arne Slot has never kept his disdain for losing to Nottingham Forest at Anfield a secret, but he has admitted their form this season means it is now not such a shock result. It has been hard to keep track of how many times Slot has willingly brought up the 1-0 defeat his side suffered at the hands of Forest in September. It has definitely kept him up at night. At the time, the Dutchman could not hide his disappointment after losing to a team that normally is not ending up in the top 10, but so far this season, he has been proved wrong. Nuno Espirito Santo's side sit 6 points behind Liverpool in third, behind Arsenal only on goal difference, and have won each of their last 7 games, conceding just 3 goals. With all that in mind, Slot can now admit that the result in hindsight was perhaps not the shock result he first thought it was. Speaking in Monday's press conference, he said, "I think they already showed in retrospect how good of a team they are. Leading up to that game, I think they had 2 draws and 1 win. In general, I think every time Liverpool loses a home game, it is something we don't expect. I think in that moment of time, I also saw a stat that Virgil played 100 home games for Liverpool and only lost once, so for us to lose on that day was, for me, hard to take, as you probably experienced. Now looking back at it and seeing where they are in the league, it's not such a shock result as I thought it was back then. They had a very good game plan, changed the wingers that normally played, and brought them in at the end, and they made the difference. Although I expect their wingers that have done so well to be in the starting 11 tomorrow, it is something that Nuno changed back then, and that worked really well for them during that game." Slot has watched the defeat back, as he wanted to see what we did back then in terms of tactics and what we could do now, and noted how he is eager not to encourage the City Ground crowd on Tuesday. The Dutchman was very complimentary of Nuno's men as he spoke to reporters, with Forest definitely in competition at the top of the Premier League table. "I always said you can judge the table best halfway through the season, and that moment is there now," Slot added. "Forest is up there with us, Arsenal, Chelsea, City, and all the others. They definitely are a team that's in competition with us and the other teams. They deserve to be treated like this. If you look at the way they play and their results, it's going to be a very difficult challenge tomorrow to get a result." Now the latest on the Khvicha Kvaratskhelia situation, Fabrizio Romano has provided some huge news. He said, "Liverpool have not submitted any proposal or even approached Napoli or Kvaratskhelia's agent. They are only monitoring the situation. Paris Saint-Germain feel they can reach an agreement for a lower fee and try to make it happen as soon as possible. Timing will be really important as they want to avoid other clubs joining the race and hijacking the move. Premier League clubs are aware of PSG going strong for Kvara. It's a big match point for Paris to close the story and avoid any hijack. So this could come as a blow to some Liverpool fans. What do you think of this? Let me know in the comments." In other news, we're going to discuss why Trent Alexander-Arnold isn't taking interviews on Liverpool contract talks. Trent Alexander-Arnold has not been readily fronting the media this season, not of the live variety at least, and it has not gone unnoticed amid his ongoing contract uncertainty. Liverpool's vice-captain has been in the headlines more often than not this season, but it has not been for anything he has said, rather his performances, contract, or Real Madrid's pursuit. With Virgil van Dijk readily taking time to speak to the press after games, whether on live broadcast or to the written media, his vice-captain has been notably absent from doing the same. It could be seen as shirking a key responsibility, especially when results have not gone in Liverpool's favour, but to many it won't be a surprise considering his contract situation. Alexander-Arnold has been interviewed by various broadcast outlets this season, but his contract is never brought up as the topic has been off limits, in the words of The Athletic's James Pearce. The 26-year-old has not spoken to the English written media since September, when he said, "I have signed 4 or 5 contract extensions and none of those have been played out in public. This one won't be either." He has not wavered, and Pearce explains that, for him, it's about showing respect to his boyhood club while the process is ongoing. On the one hand, you can understand that viewpoint, but on the other, we have seen Van Dijk navigate the constant contract questions with poise and a clear desire that he does want to stay at Anfield. Alexander-Arnold could certainly be doing the same, even if he is under different scrutiny as one of Liverpool's own, as all he is doing is offering the invitation to say he doesn't want to be here. This industry does not allow for privacy, and he must own the decision he makes, least allow this season to continue to be marred by the sideshow that is the contract saga. Alexander-Arnold. nor his representatives can control what live interviews or the written press will ask in mixed zones after a match. But the current PR strategy is not quite working, as we saw post-Man United. Let us know your thoughts on this situation in the comments below. Finally, Arne Slot superbly underlines why Wataru Endo is an important part of our team. After Wataru Endo's dominant performance at centre-back in the FA Cup, Arne Slot has explained just why the Japan captain is such an important part of Liverpool's squad. Arriving as a holding midfielder from Stuttgart in 2023, Endo played 43 times for the Reds in his debut season as he brought some much-needed experience to a youthful Jurgen Klopp midfield. Since Slot arrived though, Endo has found himself out of favour, the coach preferring Ryan Gravenberch's style. Despite not starting a single match in the Premier League or Champions League, Endo has remained a valuable asset off the bench. Such has been the 31-year-old's professionalism, Slot had no qualms about playing him at centre-back against Tottenham and Accrington Stanley, saying, "I know what kind of person Wata is. He's just, whenever you play me, I will do my best, wherever you play me." Endo has come off the bench 11 times this season as Slot has sought to see games out. While he may not be a long-term option for the Reds, the Dutchman certainly appreciates his number, 3. If it's 5 minutes before the end, he comes in and gives everything he has, and that might be normal for a lot of fans to hear, Slot continued. But as long as I'm in football, I've seen players that have to come in 5 minutes before the end, also doing different things and showing different attitude to what Wata shows. So he's an important part of our team, every time we need him in the midfield, or even now as a centre-back, because I didn't want to bring Ibu in 2 days after he played against United, and after 20 minutes we already had to make a substitution. And he did really well, Wata, because the moment I took him out of our last line, we conceded. While Endo is now known as a defensive midfielder by trade, across his career he has actually played more games as a centre-half. The majority of these appearances came during his early career with Japanese clubs Shonan Bellmare and Urawa Reds. It was at Stuttgart where he grew into a midfield role and excelled, helping to keep them in the Bundesliga under manager Pellegrino Matarazzo. Though arguably underrated, Endo may not be the most technically gifted player to ever grace the Anfield turf, but his experience, attitude and guile could be key for Liverpool to lift silverware this season. What are your thoughts on Endo's place in the Liverpool team currently? Do you think he's a useful utility player to have and bring in when we need, or should we be looking to play more youth players in his role when the opportunities arise? Let us know down in the comments, but that is all we have time for today. Thank you very much for watching, and if you did enjoy today's video, please make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to join our fast growing community of Liverpool fans. Thank you, we'll see you in the next video.